It's been 1 year, 1 month, and 14 days since I finished this and sent it off to the powder coater. 3 days after I got it back from the powder coater, this happened. As you can see though, other than some rust and losing its powder coat, it stayed perfectly intact, even though it was sitting on the workbench right in the middle of the fire. Just like I said on the last video, if you follow me on Instagram, you might have seen that I posted this coffee table base that I was working on. I think I'm gonna kind of leave it as it is. Clean it, clear coat it maybe, and throw something on top of it. Might be pretty cool. So it's time I finish this project once and for all. Let me get to work cleaning this up and I'll explain in a voiceover. As you've probably guessed by now, this time I'm not gonna be powder coating this. I'm gonna be clear coating it. I wanna leave the char. I wanna leave the rust. I want it to be a storyteller. I want it to tell a story of the house fire, that experience, and where that experience has taken us. We'll take care of the clear coat a little bit later though. So as you already saw, I lost the last cookie. Luckily, I had other walnut cookies. I think those are good. I'll come back in here later and pick these out, but these are all good. Unfortunately though, this one needs quite a bit of work and definitely needs to be flattened. But we'll take care of that with this slab flattening jig. I made this thing up real quick. I made a short video about it. If you want to go check it out, I'll leave links in the description below. I have a cool idea to take care of these cracks, but we'll do that after I get this flattened. Let me take a brief minute to talk about these gloves I've been wearing. Have you ever tried to change a bandsaw blade without gloves on? If you have, you know what I'm talking about when I say it's pretty dang scary. But with these gloves on, you never have to worry about that. Or have you ever tried changing a wire wheel without gloves on? If you've done either of those things, you understand gloves are important. That's why I'm super thrilled about these. These gloves here are a needle puncture resistant to a level 3, and they are cut resistant to a level A7. Now that's super handy to have around the shop because for me, I use a razor blade all the time. So I never have to worry about cutting myself with the razor blade again. I also really like that feature for changing out table saw blades, router blades, sharpening chisels or hand planes. But for me, where they will really shine is right there at the plasma table. When I'm pulling pieces off the plasma table, I know that I won't get cut with a freshly cut sharp edge. The second reason I'm really thrilled about them at the plasma table is they are touchscreen compatible. My plasma table has a monitor that is touchscreen compatible. So as I'm working on the plasma table, pulling pieces off, putting pieces on, I can make adjustments without having to change gloves. 3 more great features to these gloves. 1 is this Velcro strap. Nice and comfortable, super easy to put on. Number 2, these things are comfortable. They're super malleable, they're warm, they work great. The third thing, which to me is one of my favorite things of these whole gloves, is this funny little strap loop right here. This is great when you're putting gloves on, especially when they're dirty. Typically, you would put your thumb in there and you'd pull them on and you'd get your wrist all dirty and nasty. With these, you got this tab. You pull the tab to put it on. I'll leave a link in the description below. Go pick them up for yourself. Thank you, Ty Lee, for sponsoring this video. Now let's get back to this cool build. Well, that went really, really well. This router sled that I built worked flawlessly. If you look at this edge right here, it's fully charred. This was in a shed next to the garage. The shed caught on fire too, but the firefighters were able to save it from fully burning down. All these cookies and a bunch of wood that I have was in that shed. So this piece got some of the fire. It just adds to the story. It makes it that much better. All right, so like I said earlier, I am going to inlay something to help minimize any more cracking on this piece. I'm only gonna do it in 3 spots. There's a crack that goes all the way through here, here, and here. To do these, I'm gonna do bow ties, but I'm not gonna do the normal everyday bow tie. I'm gonna do metal bow ties because I have a plasma table, so why not? And I'll show you what I got planned. Okay, let's go to the plasma table. All right, I hope you can see it here. This is the design that I chose. So I need 6 of these for those cracks. I wanna do top and bottom. So let's get a bunch of these cut out. We'll move on. All right, I got all of my bow ties cut out, and now I've got them laid out on the bottom side of this cookie here. I'm gonna start with the bottom side because I'm not totally sure how this is gonna go. I realized here that I have 2 major cracks, so I'm gonna do 2 in this spot and then these 2 over here. So I'll have to do 7 bow ties altogether. So here's the template that I cut out with the laser. This worked pretty good, but unfortunately to get proper depth, I'm gonna have to get 2 more pieces, put them down first, then put the template on top, then hog out the wood. My goal depth with the router is to have these be just under the surface of the actual cookie. That way when I sand down and I get to the final sanding, hopefully everything is perfectly flush. These will get nice and sanded, hopefully a little bit polished also. Well, I gotta say, I wasn't really expecting that to work as well as it did, because when I put these on the template itself, they're tight, they don't really work. I was expecting to have to shave this down a little bit, but that is an absolutely perfect fit. So now I'm just gonna fly through these last three. Unfortunately, that guy's stuck. If I tried to get a screwdriver in there to pry it out, I would do more damage than good, so it's gonna stay. All the others, I will wait to install them, throw some epoxy or something in there first. But that one, I'm done. That one's staying. I don't know if you can see it, but this is that spot with the two cracks on the bottom side. I think what I'm gonna do, because I don't wanna get too crazy with it on top here. So I think what I'm gonna do is try to kind of make one inlay go over both cracks. Should be fine. I think it'll look the best, because again, I wanna keep the top kind of minimal. Well, that went way better than I anticipated. That is awesome, and they are flawless. The only thing left to do is epoxy these guys in, and then we can move on to sanding. Like I was saying earlier, we are now in a new location, starting new lives. For me, I'm leaving behind a career as an almond farmer to hopefully make it as a maker content creator. So if you're liking this video so far, I would really appreciate a thumbs up. Also, hit that subscribe button for more videos and projects like this one. Now that I got those bow ties epoxied in and the epoxy is cured, I can move on to finishing the sides of this and sanding the tops and bottoms. But before I do that, I'm gonna throw a little clear coat on this so that it can be drying while I'm sanding on the top. All right, well that looks fantastic with that clear coat on it. And just so you know, I used a matte finish clear coat on that. I love the way it turned out. It darkened it a little bit. Looks real good. All right, next I'm gonna move on to cleaning up the edges of this cookie. Remember that little burnt edge here? I wanna try to preserve that a little bit, so I'm gonna be very careful over there. To clean up those edges, I'm gonna use this nylon wire brush. I've used a bunch of these in the past and they work really good. This is much more than just a coffee table or a project now. It's a symbol of what we as a family have been through and how the experience has changed us. If that fire hadn't happened, we might not have moved. It pushed us to reevaluate things in our lives. What we value, what's important, and what really makes us happy. It's opened our eyes to living a slower, simpler life, and it's been a blessing in disguise. We now live in a new state, in a new house, living a new life. All right, that edge looks real good all cleaned up. Now, unfortunately, it is time to start sanding. I'm gonna start with 60 grit, work my way up to 220, and unfortunately, this is gonna take a while. So let's get to it, and I'll see you on the other side. That little battery powered palm sander that I have, it works pretty good, but it's pretty darn slow. I mean, don't get me wrong, it works great, just very slow. Well, I'm sure glad that's done. That was about 2 hours worth of sanding. I hate sanding. While I was sanding, I was thinking that this piece would look amazing with epoxy in it. That was my original idea, but I wanted something different, and I wanted to incorporate the metal bow ties. And I'm kind of glad I didn't do epoxy, because the cracks, the holes, the imperfections, it's kind of a perfect piece for this story. The house fire was the cracks and the holes. It kind of left us with a void. We didn't really know what to do. And then the move to this new location kind of gives us a whole new life. It's a whole new start and a whole new adventure. Just like this cookie and just like the base. This cookie, honestly, I mean, it's cracked, it's messed up. Truly, it should be thrown away. But here we are, new life, new purpose, new beginning. It's time to throw this together. It's gonna look amazing. All right, so next I'm gonna flip the cookie over. I'm gonna align the base on top of it, figure out where my threaded inserts are gonna go. My goal is to try to get this cookie to match the shape of the legs a little bit. So I hope you can see it here, but this cookie kind of comes to a point, and in fact, it has this little nub that sticks out here. So I'm gonna follow the legs and have that lined up. Then this cookie also kind of tapers off and gets flat here. So my goal is to have the legs kind of sit with that taper. So far, I think it's looking pretty good. I just need to square it up now. I talked about this stuff in my last video, but I got this wood butter off of Amazon. This is not a plug. I just really, really like this stuff. It's called the Bearded Chef Wood Butter. It's 100% USA made, and it's veteran owned. Go check it out, it's good stuff. I'll leave a link in the description below. Finally, it's time for my favorite part of any project, and that's applying finish. And for the finish on this project, I'm gonna be using this Natura One Coat. I've used a ton of Rubio Monocoat in the past, but when I was shopping for that, I found this and it's literally half the price. I've heard a bunch of good stuff about it, so let's give it a shot. Normally for applying this stuff, I would be using a squeegee and a white Scotch-Brite, but I can't squeegee this because there's way too many cracks, holes, and crevices. So I'm going to be using a very cheap paintbrush and a paper towel. Well, here it is, the finished coffee table. I absolutely love the way this turned out. I really like how the base has now come full circle. It started out as a powder coated base to be a coffee table. Now it's a base with wounds, scars, and its own story. The walnut cookie, while it's not the original one that I was gonna build, it is a beautiful walnut cookie. And I absolutely love the metal bow ties. And now this is so much more than just a coffee table. It now tells a story. It tells a story of the house fire, it tells the story of us moving, and it tells the story of us starting over and starting a new life in this new location. Let me know what you think of this coffee table. Thank you, Tylee, for sponsoring this video. Thank you guys for watching. We'll move on to glory shots, and we'll see you on the next one.